and welcome to the Code Clarity podcast. I'm Jean.
And I'm Rena. And today we're going to be talking to you about two breaches against AZ and Pfizer in the area of social media, where employees were alleged to have liked posts that brought them into the scope of the code and promoted to the public.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about these two different cases, which were published, in very short time together, so they're very published close together, but the outcomes were very different for the companies. So the Pfizer case was when there was, I think it was two senior employees had liked a post by a US colleague, and that brought it under the scope of the code, and they were asked to respond to clause 2, of which they accepted, and they said yes. The fact that it was a senior colleagues, two senior people had liked this post to bring it under the scope of the code, and it was in breach of the code, then they accepted that that was a clause 2 that was bringing the industry into disrepute. However, the AZ case was very different.
Well, it wasn't very different, but when it comes to the clause 2, yes, yeah. What happened was, in terms of similarities, the PMCPA said 12 senior people have actually engaged with this post, and therefore we're going to give you a clause 2. So similar because the PMCPA, that's what they'll always rule, but different because they decided to appeal. So the appeal board are different people altogether than the PMCPA panel, and the appeal board looked at the argument and they overturned the clause 2. So the problem for us as an industry, Jean, is that we have a situation which actually looks worse for AZ. They've got 12 liking them, which came out with a better outcome.
And is that because they actually put the time and effort into appealing it, even though, as you say, this is kind of almost established that if it's a senior employee and it's social media, because they should be setting the tone and they should be setting the culture, they get a clause 2. And AZ decided to actually dig in, put in the effort and take it to appeal board, and were successful.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably one of our top tips, is that senior leaders from pharma are active on LinkedIn, and they shouldn't be deterred from these cases into thinking that the PMCPA don't want anyone on social media, because they probably don't. But senior leaders are expected to be active on LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's our first top tip.
Yeah, and I guess the second one would be the PMCPA don't always get it right. So if industry doesn't agree with something that the PMCPA are doing, we need to challenge, and that can be through appeal board. It could be through the consultation we've just had. But unless the industry are willing to challenge and discuss, push back, however you want to put it, some of these decisions and these rulings, we won't see the change that we need.
No, exactly. And I think that our last top tip is that appeals are definitely worth it. And I speak to a lot of companies who will talk about the time and the energy and the resource that are required in appeals. When you accept a breach, it isn't because you accept you've done something wrong. It can sometimes be down to, I just can't be bothered to appeal. So hopefully these two cases have given you a good idea as to why appeals can be good.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.